He was 22. He studied literature. He kept a diary. His last entry read, "I am not dying for the Emperor. I am dying so my little sister doesn't have to." 6 hours later, Ensign Ichizo Hayashi flew his Zero into the deck of an American warship and ceased to exist. He was not a fanatic. He was terrified. And that distinction changes everything about what the Kamikaze actually was. By 1944, Japan was losing. Badly. The Navy had been gutted at Midway. American bombers were dismantling Japanese cities. The military brass faced a problem they couldn't solve with conventional warfare, so they invented something else entirely. They called it Toko, special attack. The West would come to know it as Kamikaze, the divine wind. The concept was brutally simple. Remove the return trip. A pilot loaded with explosives costs the enemy a warship. A bomb dropped from altitude might miss. A human being, locked on target, almost certainly wouldn't. But you can't just order men to die. You have to build men who believe dying is the right thing to do. And Japan had been building them for decades. From childhood, these young men were raised inside a complete worldview. Bushido, the way of the warrior. Life in this philosophy was never really yours to keep. It was borrowed. The cherry blossom falls at its peak. That's not tragedy, that's perfection. The individual was a single cell in a national body. And if the body was dying, what did one cell matter? This wasn't fringe thinking. It was in their textbooks, their temples, their family dinners. But ideology alone doesn't make a suicide pilot. Social architecture does. When commanders called for volunteers, it wasn't done privately. Men were called to stand before their entire unit. The ones who stepped forward were heroes. The ones who didn't, their parents would find out. Their villages would know. In a culture where family honor traveled through generations, staying seated wasn't just cowardice. It was a wound that would outlive you. So they stepped forward. And here is the part that gets buried in history books. Many of them were shaking. Pilots' diaries, many confiscated, some hidden and recovered, reveal a consistent psychological pattern. Before the mission, fear, doubt, grief, the specific anguish of writing a final letter to a mother. After takeoff, something strange, a reported calm, a dissolution of self. Psychologists today recognize this as a known stress response. When a decision is irreversible and the threat of death is absolute, the brain sometimes stops fighting and enters a dissociated state of acceptance. They were no longer men with doubts. They were the mission. They were the wind. Anti-aircraft fire would tear apart planes on either side of them. They flew through it anyway, not because they felt nothing, but because the conditioning had done something more powerful than remove their fear. It had given their fear a purpose. The Kamikaze sank dozens of ships and killed thousands of Allied sailors, but it did not change the outcome of the war. Japan surrendered in August 1945. What remains is not a story about fanaticism. It's a story about what happens when an entire civilization's machinery, its schools, its temples, its social shame, its poetry, gets pointed in a single direction. Men don't need to be monsters to do monstrous things. They just need to believe, completely, that there is no other choice. Ensign Hayashi's diary survived him. His sister did too. She never remarried. She kept his photograph on her desk until she died in 2019. 74 years after the wind went quiet,